Another week, another list. Gem Mint from Gem Mint Collectibles on the line to talk about the comic books defining this generation of collectors. The record breakers, the hottest comic books in the cosmos. And at the list at number 10, we have Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 129, the first appearance of Frank Castle, the Punisher. Hit the like, slap the subscribe button, and Gem, why don't we hit him with some record breakers?
We're going to talk about some record-breaking sales for Amazing Spider-Man 129, but also talk about some good performing sales. A CGC 5.0 sold for $2,000 back in December. It's up 2% now, selling for $2,030. Then we have the 6.5, a $2,495 sale this week, outperformed the 90-day average by 18%. Just like the 8.0, which sold for $3,350 this week, outperforming that 90-day average by 4%.
What's going on with the Punisher? I suspect with Charlie Cox's reintroduction in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Netflix relinquishing all of these superhero properties from Marvel very soon, I'm hearing. Could we be seeing a reprisal of John Bernthal in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Well, that 9.4 going for $8,000 back in June, up 3%, points us in the right direction. New record at 8,269 bones. At the list at number 9, Moon Knight number 1 is back on our list. Bill Sienkiewicz goodness.
We're getting more and more Moon Knight teasers, and none of them have disappointed. Did you see Moon Knight in the suit looking all sharp?
Oh snap, in his business suit? Well, actually, let's talk about this other book first, because that's the new thing we saw this past week. Moon Knight dons this alt costume in Secret Avengers issue number 19, and that's up and seeing a price record break 3 different times over the last 7 days since this trailer. The prior sale was for $249, and we have now seen a top sale of $300 for that issue. And that's not all. Moon Knight's first solo story in Marvel Spotlight 28 had a 9.8 record breaker this week as well. People digging the trailer, Gem. Prior record set in May for $3,500. That's up 7% this week, now selling for $3,750. But let's get back to Moon Knight's first solo series with a 6.5.
The 6.5 sold for $105 back in May. That's up 5%, now selling for $109. And then we have a 7.0, which sold for $100 in January. It's a newsstand edition, and it's up 50%, now selling for $150.
Now, Jim, I want to point this out because we had a couple members in the comment section from a few weeks ago comment on the 9.8 record breaker that we talked about of this book at a 9.8. The prior record was set in November of last year for $1,350. And this comic is hovering around that price point still. But 2 weeks ago, we reported on a 9.8 record breaker that hit $1,700. I had to look into it just a little bit more because we knew that the sale took place after 38 bids, but it was on Comic Link, which doesn't keep their historical records available to the public for consumption. So I reached out to Comic Link to get verification in writing so that everyone can see it. Now, keep in mind, some of these sales that happen on auction sites exceed the traditional marketplace value because members who are on there are gunning for books and they don't necessarily mind if they're overpaying a little bit. But it's valuable info nonetheless, so we know the heights that these books can reach.
Tom, I like how you had the receipts for him on that one. Moving on to number 8, we have Amazing Spider-Man issue number 31, The Triple Key, first appearance of Harry Osborn, first appearance of Gwen Stacy, and Professor Miles Warren, who later becomes the Jackal.
This is the first time Dr. Octopus gets referred to as the Master Planner, and I'll remind the community about the 9.0 record breaker last week that has major trickle-down effects happening to the lower grades this week. The high sale for a 9.0 was recorded back in 2020 for $2,419, and we saw an uptick of 70% last month for $4,050, and then last week a record breaker of $4,100. And I'm going to foreshadow it. It didn't stop this week, but let's tell them about the 7.0, which went for $1,380 last week, up 4%, now selling for $1,430.
And speaking of the CGC 9.0, which we just mentioned, sold for $4,100 last week. In just 1 week's time, it's up 29%, now selling for $5,280.
If you like what we do every single week for the comic fam, utilize code TOM101 on the best comic app in existence, Key Collector Comics, available for both iOS and Androids. Get access to all of this information that we report on prior to the videos coming out. Catalog your comic books, get suggested pricing, key alerts, stay up on the rapidly moving marketplace. Butch would appreciate it as well. He loves Key Collector, and at the list at number 7, Jem, you must be feeling better by the day. We got Submariner number 1 to talk about.
Yeah, Tom, I'm feeling much better after seeing those set photos from Black Panther Wakanda Forever showing them filming in underwater tanks.
What are the members of Wakanda doing fighting underwater? Who are they fighting? Well, this comic book features the first solo series in the Silver Age of the first Marvel anti-hero, the Submariner, and this book has been blowing up by the week.
Well, Tenoch Huerta has been rumored for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but nothing confirmed yet, so we kind of knew it was coming, but just getting the validation is where it's at. A CGC 5.0 sold for $635 back in June. It's holding steady, up 2%, selling for $650, and then a 9.8 came to market. It sold for $10,200 back in June, and it's up 96% now, selling for $19,950.
Nearly breaking the $20,000 marker. Hot damn, comic fam. And Jem and I hit the mic last year, back in December, to tell you about the information Key Collector was providing, inside sources telling them about the tournament that's going to take place in Black Panther, that we were going to see a fight for the mantle of the new Black Panther, possibly who's going to actually take on the role, as well as an introduction by not only Submariner, but possibly Dr. Doom.
Key Collector also received a tip that Atuma and Namor will be in the movie, so a lot of Submariner keys catching heat right now. Moving on to number 6, we have Web of Spider-Man 118, the first appearance of Ben Reilly as the Scarlet Spider.
The clone of Peter Parker, who officially gets named in Spider-Man issue number 52, is in the ongoing Amazing Spider-Man run right now, so a lot of love for the Scarlet Spider, and he recently went up against the Queen Goblin.
Before we get into the graded books, we had a raw copy. An ungraded copy go for an all-time high this week of $165. The CGC 9.2, which sold for $160 back in October, is up 16% with its new record-breaking sale of $185.
And then we got the 9.8, whether it's the multiverse spec, Spider-Verse spec. We're getting so many different type of Spider-Men, girls, women, old women. The family's expanding. Why not this character? Back in January, going for $716, up 19%, now selling for $850 bones.
And halfway to the list, we're at number 5, and you knew it was coming with the Super Bowl trailer, Doctor Strange issue 169, essentially his first solo series.
Formerly titled Strange Tales, Doctor Strange getting his own solo title for the first time. His origin gets retold, and him on the cover makes this a major key to own. With the trailer dropping over the Super Bowl, spec is going nuts. We had a 6.0, prior record set back in November for $515, up 9%, now selling for $560. The 7.0 going for $750 in August is up 6%, selling for $795.
Then we have the 7.5, which sold for $870 back in January, up 3%, now selling for $900.
Jem, I gotta know your thoughts on the trailer. Seeing Rintraw for sure has got me hyped to no end. We're gonna see an action scene with America Chavez. She's not just gonna be quickly introduced, she's firmly in the movie.
I just want to know whose voice was that said, okay, we'll tell you the truth.
I know, man. I texted Nick over at Key Collector. I'm like, is this Professor X? What's happening? Comic fam, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll remind you, we're going for 55,000 subscribers, a milestone giveaway of Omni-Man on the cover by Tyler Kirkham on Invincible #1 can be yours. Like and subscribe, and let's talk about Daredevil 168 at number 4.
The first appearance and origin of Elektra, with Charlie Cox reprising his role as Matt Murdock. We have Daredevil in the MCU. You know Elektra's got to be coming behind. We have a CGC 6.0 that sold for $225 back in September, up 18%, selling for $265.
We also had 2 different sales that tied established heights for an 8.5 of $450 this week and a 9.2 at $550. We have a 9.0 record breaker to report on. Back in November, going for $450, up 7%, now selling for $480. Charlie Cox is back in the MCU. We were recently reintroduced to the Kingpin. We have rumors of John Bernthal reprising his role as the Punisher. Do we need any more reason to spec on Daredevil characters? Wait a minute. Hitmonkey wanted to use Bullseye, but they had to go Lady Bullseye because Marvel wouldn't let them. What other information do you need to spec on this book?
Well said, Tom. I totally agree. And moving on to number 3, a book that's back on the list. A book that dominated the list for all of what, 2020, 2021? How long have we been doing this? Ultimate Fallout 4, the first appearance of Miles Morales.
We have an 8.0 going for 610 back in May, up 2% for 625. The 9.4 going for 12 hundo back in December is up 7%, now selling for 1,285. I got a PS5 over this last month. I beat the SpiderMan game. What about you, Jem?
I also got a PS5 and have started playing the Spider-Man game, Miles Morales, but haven't finished it yet.
I gotta say, I enjoy playing Miles Morales more than any other Spider-Man, and a 9.6 went for 1,400 back in March, up 13%, now selling for 1,577. This book may have had some dips, but they were short-lived, and they were barely a hurdle.
Not to mention, PCS just started shipping their 1/3 scale Miles Morales, so a lot going on with this character.
We have an animation movie. We have another animation movie. We have video games, statues, toys, ongoing series. Need we say more about Miles Morales? Comic fam, if you like what we do, hit the link in the description. ComicTom101.com is where you can join the community, support the show. We are in active enrollment as of today for the March Mystery Mail Call. And although I have a lot of fun things up my sleeve for this month, the first thing I'm going to tell you is the 1 per box. Trade dress or virgin. We have Silver Surfer Rebirth, issue number 1. Silver Surfer, Galactus on the cover, done by Raph Grassetti.
Yeah, see, this is right up my alley. We just got done talking about statues. I'm in the statue world. Raph Grassetti is a 3D sculptor and has produced some sideshow pieces with them, so amazing cover.
Thank you, Jem. And why don't we keep up with the cosmic love at number 2?
You just got done saying what other Daredevil keys should we be looking out for? Well, here we are, Daredevil issue 105. This is where Madame McEvil becomes Moondragon, and we get Moondragon's origin.
That's right, the daughter of Drax. And we had heavy spec towards this character as well as Phyla Vell over this last year. And considering that inside sources told Key Collector that Phyla Vell was coming to the screen, it makes sense that we'd see Moondragon as well. A 7.0 going for $36 back in October is up 317%, now selling for $150. The 8.0 going for $58 in just July is up 202%, now selling for $175.
Some big gains on that 8.0. We also have a 9.2, which sold for $200 back in 2017, up 28%, selling for $256.
Now keep in mind, Moondragon first appears as Madame McEvil in Iron Man 54, and a 7.5 broke records this week. Prior sale was in August for $275, and that's up 45% this week, now selling for $400.
All right, guys, and on to the hottest comic book in the world. It actually made number 2 on the Hot 10 list last week. We have Amazing Spider-Man 210, the first appearance of Madam Web.
What's crazy, Jem, is that this spec started circulating back in September 2019 when rumors about the Morbius team being tapped to do Madam Web something on the screen, whether it was to integrate her in a movie or her own solo movie, which sounded crazy then. Well, fast forward a few years, obviously pandemic delayed things. She is now leading our lists, whether it's this one, last week's, or the trending.
I love how you said that because the book makes so much more sense in this day and age rather than when it first got rumored. We're going to start by talking about a Mark Jewelers, a CGC 8.5. It last sold for $201 back in December. It's up 85%, now selling for $371.
With Dakota Johnson being cast to portray Madam Web, it has members thinking that this is the book to have. But which Madam Web is she going to portray? This superhero, the elderly woman with clairvoyance, or the second Madam Web, who was Julia Carpenter? I recommend everybody check out the prior trending video that was released this past week, because that's where Russ, our Overstreet Price Guide advisor on the show, and I talk about this very spec. But it didn't stop this key book from moving. We have a 7.5 newsstand to talk about. Prior record being set last week of 200, up 63%, now selling for $325.
The CGC 8.0 sold for $163 in January. That's up 115%, now selling for $350, not to be outdone by the 9.0. That sold for $350 last week. Now it's up 31%, selling for $460.
This is nuts, Jem, because not only are these prices growing by the week, we have a 9.0 newsstand sale that we just reported on hitting $460. Let's look at the direct market copy. A 9.2 sold for $275 last week. That's up 9%, selling for $300. $160 less than the 9.0 newsstand. That's a lower grade selling for more because of the barcode, and it shouldn't. These prices should be reserved for newsstands that hit 9.6 and above.
Yeah, that's how it always used to be, but over time, it just seemed like every newsstand grade would outperform its counterpart. We also have a direct edition 9.6 that sold for $675 last week. It's up 7%, now selling for $725.
Keep in mind, comic fam, that although we may be seeing some newsstands spike up in price below 9.6, the scarcity isn't the same as a 9.6 or a 9.8. They are more equivalent, more prevalent to a direct market copy, and in my opinion, should sell for the same amounts. We appreciate your time today, as always.
Geek responsibly and stay minty fresh.
Enough said. Jem, where can they find us every single Wednesday?
You know, Wednesdays are all about Whatnot. I'll be kicking off Whatnot Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. I have a ton of great key issues, little mini-series, 90s goodness, and more.
Dollar start auctions that last as little as 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds long. Link in the description. Support what we do and take a look at these other videos that we made for the comic fan. That's you. Have a great week.